Good evening and welcome to Pain to Power Leading with Love. I am your host, Maria Cosme, also known as Brown Girl Interrupting. And we have a super exciting guest tonight that I'm going to be bringing on shortly. I want to just kind of first frame our conversation today with thinking about um, something that I've been reflecting on, which is that sometimes your path that you are on is confirmed by outside things, and you know you're in the right direction. And so, like this week, I've really had a tough week, emotionally exhausting in a lot of relationships and dynamics. And I was scrolling through TikTok, and I found a story of a friend and someone who is on the iRant network, one of our iRant network supporters, whom had a compilation of my stories in his TikTok story and telling people they should start following me and listen to my words of wisdom. And there's something that just confirmed that a lot of the words and the things that I've been saying are there for a reason, and they've been said for a reason, and they're helping people around me. And that confirmation meant a lot. And I needed it. And I think that's just sometimes it is that sometimes we have to look around and see at the things that are confirming that we're on the right path and that we're doing the things that we're supposed to be doing. And so tonight I am super excited to be on this path with you on Pain to Power. I love it. Welcome, Dr. Howard. Thank you so much. And same, Mia, Francois, thank you so much for coming in. I'm so excited about this conversation, and so am I. And please make sure if you're watching us right now, hit the like button and share this broadcast so other folks can come in and watch us live. And if you're watching the rebroadcast, make sure to hit the thumbs up and leave a comment. I am super excited tonight because I have the brilliant and dynamic comedian, actor, and writer, and truthfully, someone I am super fangirling over right now. She has the special hijabs off on Prime, Amazon Prime, as well as was featured in the recent issue of Rolling Stone magazine as one of the new comedy all-stars. Welcome, Zainab.
Hey, Maria, how you doing?
I'm amazing, and truthfully, like I'm starstruck
Oh,
because I have been following you for a really long time and loved your comedy. And two things that I've always wanted to do was bring a comedian on here and meet you.
okay.
So you just made both those things happen.
Oh, I'm
Um,
happy. I'm happy to do that.
well, I really appreciate it. I had the pleasure of seeing you in DC this summer.
Oh.
And you had just such a brilliant way of engaging with the audience. I don't know if you remember, but you did a bit with, it was an improv bit with a woman who was in the audience, must have been Saturday of DC.
Hmm.
And you did a whole date with her
Oh, yeah, yeah,
and you
yeah. And I
created
played
the
the guy.
date.
Yeah.
Uh, and that was just like, I mean, your timing, your brilliance, your improv, like all of it is just so impressive. So I'm in awe. So,
I'm flattered. Thank you. Thank you so much. I actually really love performing in DC. I love like every city that I go to because I'm so grateful when people come out to see me and people connect with my comedy. But DC definitely is like a special place to perform in.
well, I love that, and I mean, it was a special treat to see you there. I was excited to get the tickets. It was my solo date, and it was all worth it. All worth it. I got to
I'm
take a
glad.
picture with you at the end. I mean, that's one thing that I've noticed about you is that you're so gracious and amazingly like just welcoming to all of your supporters and your audience, and it's a beautiful thing. But so part of why I asked you to come on the show is that this is called Pain to Power. This show, and it's really about the connection between how we heal ourselves. And one of the things that often doesn't always get talked about, but comedy and healing are very connected,
Mhm.
right? And so I always ask my guests what they believe pain to power means to them. So as you think about that, this idea of turning pain into power, what has that meant for you?
Um, I, I mean, the first thing that comes to my mind is taking something that is considered adverse, and making it a strength, And I think we can react to things or we can process things that are not ideal in a number of different ways. And some of those ways are not helpful. And some of the ways are, making use of it, and I think that pain to power, if I think about that phrase, I would say it's making use of anything and everything that you're experiencing.
Mhm. And I love that. And I mean, I think so. So for that way, like, how has that been something that has guided you with with comedy? Because you definitely take a lot of adverse things. I feel like you take a lot of things and narratives that others don't always see and understand, and you make them very humorous. But you also connect your audience to them.
Yeah, well, let me be clear. I don't ever want to experience any pain. I think sometimes when we make lemonade out of lemons, sometimes it seems like we're saying, "Give me all the lemons," and it's like, no, I don't want to experience pain. In my utopia, there's no pain for anybody. Um, but I don't go into my stand up thinking this is adverse, this is tragic, this is painful. How can I make it funny? I go into my stand up thinking, what story about my life do I want to convey in a humorous way in this moment? And sometimes they're really fun, goofy experiences that I have. Sometimes they're really lovely, passionate experiences that I have. And sometimes they are not ideal, but they're all my experiences. So I'm only taking what's in me and presenting it in what I believe to be a humorous way.
That's huge, though, I think, because you're taking, I mean, that requires risk in taking
Mhm.
what's in you and sharing it with others. And I think what you've done, which I've really been, I mean, impressed with, and particularly like your hijabs off, your special was really powerful for me, because I think you took a lot of things that, yeah, they're not adverse necessarily, but there are dynamics that not everybody understands, and you
Mhm.
definitely put them out there to tell your very individual story. But I
Yeah.
will say, I was resonating with you, right? Like,
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
watching it and I was like, oh, yes, I know the haram police, like,
yeah.
all of the things. But I think that, like, I always wonder, how did you come to realizing that you could start to do that? Like, what gave you that desire to start to share your story through through like humor?
Yeah, I think with comedy specifically, all you need is somebody to laugh. The moment somebody laughs at anything that you say, something goes into your brain that says that's confirmation that this is funny. You know, if I'm not like I'm not like somebody that's like, I'm going to say what I want and I don't care what anybody says. I'm going to get up there. And if you ain't laughing and I got to give you a whole story and nobody laughs, I don't care. This is my truth and this has to be said. No, that is not a fun comedy show. Um, uh, so like I said, am compelled. I don't, for whatever reason, to extract something from my life. And when I do that, I do it in front of an audience. And that's the biggest risk. The first time I do it is the biggest risk because that's the only time I don't know if it has legs or not. But once I get past that risk and even one person laughs, I don't know if you've ever watched, I feel like Chappelle said this in one of his interviews. He was like, matter of fact, I think he said it in his special. He was like, I could tell a joke and 15,000 of you guys cannot laugh. But if one of you guys laughs, I'm keeping the joke, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like with comedy, with stand-up comedy, that's what's really good about it is that you get an instant response. You get an instant response in the moment. And yeah, so I don't necessarily think I'm taking a big risk when I'm speaking because if I thought I was taking a big risk when I was speaking, then I would think that me existing is a big risk. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I do know how to navigate when people are having very specific reactions, like in hijabs off, in my special, I have a lot of people who come up to me and say, I'm not Muslim, but I know what it is to have religious police. I'm Jewish and I know what it is to have, the police in the name of that religion, police in the name of Christianity, police in the name of what you eat. Do you get what I'm saying? I know what
Oh,
it
yeah.
what it feels to have like familial police. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and so as much as I am saying it in a very specific way that identifies with me, and I'm very specific when I talk about Islam, my experience with Islam, because, for me growing up, and I say this in the special, I did not see any representation that was familiar to me. And I'm like, wait, I'm a fully functioning Muslim person in this world. My family is too. But everything that they're conveying in movies and TVs and the news and any sort of media, I don't know those representations.
Mm-hmm.
So my duty was to add to the narrative, you know? But also, like, I mean, if you've watched this special, I tell a story essentially about a pedophile, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of people do think that that's risky. And I guess that would go into Maria, you're like pain to power, because I mean, it is painful when I really, really think about it. But I found that in my life, when I would mention it at all, it would be very casual. You
Mm-hmm.
know, that's how it got on stage. It didn't get on stage because I was having an Iyanla Van Zant moment with somebody. It
Right.
didn't get on
Right.
stage because I was in some group therapy. It got
Mm-hmm.
on stage because me and another comedian friend of mine, we were cracking jokes. And I said casually, yeah, girl, like when I got kidnapped. It's just funny to me,
Right.
you know? And kidnapping is not funny, but me,
That's how you process.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, you got to say it on stage. Now, she didn't, if I would have said, oh my God, did I ever tell you about the time I got kidnapped? It was awful. She would have never advised me to say it on stage, but the fact that
Right.
I said it in jest, that's what's funny about it. And now I have to figure out on stage how to responsibly deliver this experience so that you understand that I know how to make humor out of something, that I give you proper warning for something that exists out there. But also, I have to take care of my audience, because what I'm saying, what may be funny to me, what I may be able to make light of in my own life, may be a real deep trigger for someone else.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have to have an awareness, which I think most good comedians have. And then the work is figuring out how to do it. Sorry, I feel like I was talking for a long time.
No, but I mean, I appreciate it. Thank you, one, for your story, and then two, for your vulnerability, because I think like that says a lot, to be able to process things that are challenging in ways where you took almost power back in your
Mhm.
story, right? And I think from what I've seen in your humor and the way that you share all your stories, there's a lot of like you taking your power back in them.
Mhm.
Um, and that's awesome. The chat is blowing up. We got to give some love to everybody. Welcome to my Ranters fam. I see Mia Francois says, I loved you and upload. Thanks for coming on and sharing your story.
Thank
Yes,
you.
be
Thank you.
smiles. Salute, be smiles. I laughed during your entire Prime special, Zainab. Yes, yes,
Thank
definitely. It
you.
was
Thank you.
hilarious. And Miko Reed, welcome, Miko, says, yes, I'm here for this conversation. Thank you so much. No hold backs, TV. Tasha, do you get scared someone will steal your joke? That's a good question. Have you
It
ever felt
is.
that?
It is. I think people do get, I'm not scared. I feel like y'all know my jokes are so specific. Like if some I said that during 9/11 I didn't go outside because I was Muslim and my friend told me you're black. if somebody else gets on stage and says that, I'm not so concerned because I'm so specific. But
Mm,
I do notice that, or I do feel like my style of humor, um and what I talk about, I do think it gives license to other people. I think for a long time we saw what comedy is. There was a very specific um formula for comedy and how to do comedy and what you can talk about, what's funny. And so I remember when I first started, I always saw people do jokes, especially Black people. I always saw them do jokes about fatherless households,
mm,
and that was like a stereotype in the Black American community. Um, and that was a source of humor. Those are people with their experiences making light of it. And I remember one of my first jokes was, yeah, whenever I get teased, I just say, at least I know my father. That was my, because I, because that was my reaction every time somebody didn't know. I was like, oh man, I come from a two-parent home. um and I don't think that that's usually when people think positive things, you don't think like that's funny, right? Like if somebody's just like, yeah, my husband loves me and we had an amazing vacation and we live like effortlessly, if you do that at a comedy show, people are going to be like,
mm. Where's the joke, right? Yeah,
we ain't paid $35 for you to just brag on your good life. People like to hear people make fun of their whatever, because we all are experiencing some level of pain and want levity brought to it. We want either relief or we want relief from it, or levity brought to it, right? But um I do feel like the things that I find humorous, I do think that when other comedians see me perform, or aspiring comedians, younger comedians,
yeah.
then they go, oh, I can talk about that. I didn't know that I could talk about that. I was actually sharing a story with one of my features on the road. Um, when I first started headlining, I must have did like Pittsburgh or something. I was in some kind of Midwestern city, and my feature, when I had to do 5 shows, my feature went up and he did his set, and then I went up and did my set, and I was talking about being Muslim. I was talking about a lot of stuff that people know me for now. It was the beginning of that journey,
Mm-hmm.
and when I got off stage, he said, "Oh, I didn't know I could talk about being Muslim. Like I'm Muslim too. I'm Black and I'm Muslim. Are you cool with me doing some jokes about being Muslim?" And I'm like, "Yeah, if you got jokes about being do whatever you want. I'm not comedy police. I
Right.
don't care what you say. Just go out there and do your job." Um, and then as the night went on, like I noticed, like, I mean, as the weekend went on, I noticed like, okay, he's starting to kind of massage my jokes into but I didn't really care about that. I don't know.
Mm,
I didn't really care about that. A lot of people say that female comedians talk sex a lot. And I think that that's totally okay, because women have sex and women can be sexual beings, and they should not need to be apologetic about that. And it should not be unfunny to talk about sex or sexual situations just because you are a woman.
mm-hmm.
But my truth is, I'm such a prude. So I got to go on stage, and anytime I approach any type of sexual talk, it's going to be through my lens, which is I'm genuinely like ill, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And so somebody might look at that and be like, Zainab, she's so respectful. She did, she doesn't even, but it's like, I don't know if I'm respectful. I'm just kind of like, ew, like that is my genuine perspective. And so I'm just talking about it. I'm just really, Maria, speaking my truth. And so to answer your question and the I can't remember who left the comment, but I'm just not afraid because it's my truth. And it's not your truth. So even if you take it for a little while, you're not going to do it better than me. It's my truth.
But I love everything you said, because I think what you've done is given permission to others, right? By speaking your truth, you have interrupted this idea that others can't, right? Like that's powerful. And for up and coming comedians, but I would imagine there's probably some other comedians who maybe have been in the game for a minute, right? Who also, like, that's something that is, that authenticity of being you doesn't always come out as easily for many, right? We have to cover up parts of ourselves. That's that intersectionality piece in life sometimes.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate, like, that you've been you're always so honest about that. But let me ask you, like, so do you get pushback? Like, just thinking about, you talk about personal things, but you also talk about a lot of social justice things through humor. And issues that come up in life, right? That have impacted you personally, but are around, right? They impact a lot of people. Do you get pushback, or is there everything that has made that difficult for you to do in public spaces when you're doing your comedy?
Yeah, sometimes I get pushback if someone has like misunderstood what I'm saying, or if they flat out disagree with what I'm saying, like that's fine too. I'll get a little bit of pushback. I think sometimes when you acknowledge certain things, I think sometimes when people champion you and feel like you're their warrior, then they put the burden of being activist or something like that on your shoulders. And that's okay. But I think the misconception or the unreasonable assumption is that everyone's activism shows up in the same way. You know, I again, I am a Black Muslim woman in America. And so, not in America, in the world. And so, my lens is always one that is seeking justice, because a lot of things presented in the experience of someone with my same makeup is unjust. And so if it comes out in my stand-up, if it ever comes out when I'm having a conversation, it's only because there's no what I'm only like speaking my life, you know? And so I'm not, I don't know. I don't want to say that it's not intentional, because I don't want to say that I'm doing this by accident, or that I'm not a willing participant and an intentional person. I am, with what I say and what I present on stage. I am. But I guess the start of it is not, this is a social, I'm gonna make a point.
Right.
I don't start there. By the end, I'll be like, damn, I made a good point. I'll be like,
Yeah.
oh, that's just how I look at it. But
Right.
but like, oh, that sounds like what politicians should be saying, but that's not how I start. I start with like, this will be going on in my mind.
But and honestly, like, one, I think I appreciate that you elevated the idea of the burden of activism, because I do think that that's not fair to put that on anyone, and particularly people who are celebrities, and particularly celebrities of color, because that's like a whole nother level of burden in life, right? Like you said, you are a Black female Muslim, right? Like that's a lot. Like that's a lot of different different pieces, and you talk about it as, you know, you're the diversity trifecta, right?
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
and but I think, like, again, the authenticity that you show by just speaking on your experiences is helping others,
Mhm.
which is powerful. I mean, and again, like, it's all the reasons why I was like, I need to talk to you. Like, I need you on my show, right? Like, but in particular, and I'm gonna say I got questions, just personal questions, because I'm like
Okay.
so excited to be sitting in front of you. But
Okay.
you know, I know that, you know, you talked a lot about being a Muslim. So in your trifecta, I hit two of those with you,
Uh-huh.
like, right? And but you know, you covered, you used to do hijab at one point and then
Yeah,
you
yeah.
stopped. So tell me a little bit about just your own journey of understanding where you stand in religion as you go up there and you talk about being a Muslim, because there's it's like it's a continuum, and I think
Yeah.
not a lot of people understand that it's a continuum of faith, but also of practice and how you show up. So, like, how's
Yeah.
that been for you, and what's that experience been like for you?
Wait, what? Sorry. Just because you said a lot, I just want to make sure that I'm answering your question. What's the actual question?
So just wondering, like, just your own dynamic of understanding yourself as
Mhm.
a Muslim woman
Mhm.
in society. What has that journey been like for you?
It has been, well, one, I mean, if I'm just walking around in the world, I don't cover up. I'd say I'm a pretty modest dresser for the most part, but I don't wear a hijab, which is the number one identifying, of a Muslim woman. And so I don't wear that. So if I don't say it, people will never know until maybe they hear my name. And then people who are familiar with that name, then they'll inquire.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but so for the most part, I'm just having to, on a daily basis, deal with the reality of being a Black woman. You know, and then once I say that I'm Muslim on stage, which I hope people understand, because I actually get a lot of backlash, from what I like to call the Haram police. I get a lot of negativity, being not being like a not being modest, like I get a lot of things that I do are called haram. And I don't think that people understand that it's actually much easier for me to never say it.
Mm.
That
Mm-hmm.
would be a
Mm-hmm.
very easy choice to
Right.
just deal with what you can obviously see, which is, oh, that's a Black girl. Um, but I I love that part of me. It makes up a lot of who I am, the way the faith that my parents instilled in me. It makes up a lot of who I am. And so and again, like I told you a few moments ago, Maria, I would love to give some little Black, brown girl, some little Muslim girl or something, whatever, sort of example, some sort of uh familiarity, that I
Mm-hmm.
didn't get. Like,
Mm.
once I started performing, like, I'm just thinking about now, we have our Marvel characters who are, you know, Muslim families.
Mm-hmm.
We have Iftihaj who, is it called fencing? I don't want to.
Fencing. Yeah, yeah. She's a fencer.
Like with a hijab, like just like just Nike, just ads. I wish that I saw that when I was 10 years old. And
Yeah.
so part of my mission is just trying to give young women something that I didn't have, you
Mm.
know? Um my I wore a jab up until like maybe about 15 years old. My father, before he passed, he would have preferred me wear it until be currently wearing it today,
Right.
because he's a Muslim father. It's not That's not rocket science.
Right. Yeah.
Um, but I think when I took it off, it was definitely me trying to assimilate and me trying to not. just me trying to be what everybody else is,
Mhm.
and me not wanting the added pressure of like that other marginalized narrative, that other, controversial narrative. I didn't really want to deal with that as a teenager. And so I fought and fought. Sometimes I snuck, sometimes I would leave the house looking one very specific way. And then I would Clark Kent it. I would change in the elevator, end up in school like you know what I'm saying? Looking
Yeah,
just
yeah,
like all my friends. And then I'd have to remember to change back when I got into the house, into our apartment. And now I'm very comfortable with who I am, but I do sometimes entertain the idea of going back to wearing a hijab. I was in Dallas 2 weekends ago performing, and it was a good amount of people who were there and interested in me like romantically, and were very vocal about it. And I started making jokes. I was using the curtain on stage like as a hijab, to like cover myself. I was like, let's say this is the problem. This is why, but I'm just like, like that. I'm like making, like, obviously I don't agree with that. I don't agree that a woman should have to be covered up to be safe and protected. I don't agree with that, you
right,
know which is why in my special I say, if you can't control yourself when you see a knee, you're the problem.
right. Yeah,
um
yeah,
uh but yeah, I do kind of wonder, like, I do sort of feel like, do I want to start wearing a hijab full time, or what does it mean to me to just do it when I want to and when I don't want to, and do I feel like dealing with the um unsolicited comments that will invite.
right,
And I'm just a person that really moves off of how I feel. And so today I'm still not wearing a hijab, but one day if I wake up and do, obviously outside of me going to like the mosque or but
mhm,
obviously if one day I wake up and want to start wearing hijab full time, then I'll do that, and I'll do it unapologetically. And I'm sure that the responses that I'll turn them into jokes, you know
right, right.
and they'll give
Yeah.
me and they'll give me a comedy special, and I'll just call it hijabs on, like, I don't know. I'll figure that out when I get there.
So like, thank you, because so you're talking about little Muslim girls, but I'm gonna say you gave me that connection as a grown Muslim girl, right? Like,
Mhm,
so I also did hijab until I
mhm,
was about 15, and it was
mhm,
literally the same thing, right? That
mhm,
very visible thing that I was getting targeted for could be the one thing I could take off and no longer be visible, right? Like,
mhm,
and that's a hard decision, but I think
mhm.
like religion is such a personal decision,
Yeah,
but it's complicated when it also becomes something that a lot of other people are looking and seeing and judging you on.
yeah.
And so I really admire the way that you stand so strongly in it, and
Mhm,
strongly in being the Muslim that you are, because
mhm,
I oftentimes, like, I struggle with that. Like, and I'm gonna say, and in that way, I'm really like, it was really powerful for me to watch your special, because I haven't seen someone talk about the Haram police like that. And I know the Haram police. Like, I clearly I got the Haram police also, right? And but I think, like, again, it's that permission that you're giving to others to be who they are without the constructs and the constrictions of the narratives that others have put on what that means to be.
mhm.
And that's really, really powerful. And so, I mean, in all of this, and I know the chat is blowing up, so we'll take a few moments and just take some thoughts that are in there. Jaleb said the Haram police got a warrant out for Maria. LOL.
They got a
They
warrant out
probably
for
do.
they got a warrant out for every woman, but the Haram police are, most people who try to police a situation are the biggest hypocrites. So don't that's anybody, it's your family member that tells you not to do something, but they constantly talking about they, somebody behind it, but it's like, no,
Right.
it
Yeah.
it is all it. I actually, I never really experienced the Haram police growing up. I have to say that because I grew up in Harlem. New York has a very big Muslim um, community, and it wasn't. I was bussed out, and so I went to school with a bunch of like white kids, but
Mm,
in my community, it's not people understand. You see Muslim people walking down the street, you understand. You like they Muslim, just like we Christian, they Muslim, he Jehovah's Witness. You know what I'm saying? Like
mm,
but all my friends knew, like, oh, no, Zainab is my friend that don't eat no pork, and she got to cover her. And you know what I'm saying? And Zainab can't come to the sleepover. Her parents ain't letting her come to the sleepover. Do you know what I'm saying? That wasn't hard to understand. It actually wasn't until I became a comedian and I would tell these jokes that I thought were super celebratory. I think the first time I kind of got a sense of the haram police in my life was I told the joke about Ramadan. I thought that I was not Ramadan. I told the joke about my skin. And I thought that I thought I was saying, this is what I'm telling you, Maria. This is what I'm saying. When I go into it, I kind of go into it with my own thing. And then how the
right.
world receives it is, I'm always kind of surprised by that. So I was like, Ramadan is so good. Look, it got my skin looking like, yeah, I know, God and all of that. But I mean, look at my skin, right? Because that is the true perspective of a 20-something-year-old woman.
Right.
You want to have good skin. So I could get on stage and be like, look what Ramadan is doing for me. Or I could go on stage, or I could get online and be like, I use all of these products. But instead I'm
Right.
like, look, this is God. I don't know what you're doing in your life, but this is God, right? And that video was one of my first videos to go viral.
Mm-hmm.
And when you wake up and 6 million people done viewed your video, you uh you
Yeah.
realize that a good portion of that is going to be some hate.
Mm,
And I can get when people are like, oh, I can get people talking through it like, oh, I never really expected to hear Ramadan used in such a, this, it's a very spiritual thing for me, and that, which it is for me too. But I can understand people like kind of going through like, oh, I never really looked at this thing in this like really casual way. But I mean, no, it was like Nigger, you die. I mean, it was like the
wow.
most un-Islamic things you could say.
Mm, mm,
And
mm.
I was like, well, now it's like I see the video and then I get right on stage and then because it's fresh on my mind. I get right on stage and I'm like, I'm Muslim, people be like, you don't cover up. I'm like, this is a wig. So that's just in my mind. I'm not even like, ooh, you know what? I'm gonna kill him because I'm gonna be like, my wig is I don't even think like that. I'm literally responding, and because
Yeah.
I'm not gonna respond online, I'm gonna respond on stage. And then it's like, and then I get a big laugh. Oh, that's a joke. All right. Well, then that one's written.
Right. And the haters are going to hate, and I think, right, like, it is so interesting because I think that adds like a whole nother layer, which you talk about in your special too, is being a Black Muslim, right? Like, because oftentimes there are a lot of Muslims who don't even see that as Muslim at times, right? Like being Black and being Muslim. And I know in my own community it's something that I've seen, like
Yeah.
there's definitely, like, there's a whole nother level of racism that comes up, of marginalization, of not even believing that you're in the same space of Muslim, of whatever that means. So I think, right, yeah, like you open yourself up when you
Yeah.
become more and more popular
Mhm.
to the range of what that is. And I'm sorry to hear that that's the response, but unfortunately that is, I mean, that's what it is, right? And again, you reclaimed it. You went in there and you threw it right back. But I think I love that about you. I think that that's just it, right? Like and you said it, it's not that you're staying in pain.
Mm-hmm.
You're constantly, it feels like, in a space of power, but there are dynamics and things that you've shifted that could otherwise be looked at by others as adversity and pain.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, which is awesome. But you also, so you're also, part of a big, beautiful family of
Yeah.
13 kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, I mean, you talk about them a lot in all of your jokes. And I'm an aspiring, I'm a writer. I'm a writer. I'm gonna say I'm a writer. I'm not gonna say I'm aspiring. I'm a writer. And I do this podcast, but a lot of what I do, and again, I think this goes back to Haram beliefs and being Muslim, but there's like these dynamics of things that you're telling stories about others. How had that how'd that work for you, where you started to bring other people's stories into like your humor? When you do that, like, what is that like with your family and their understanding of it, or like your like how you talk through it? Like, what's that like for you?
This is a question that I get pretty often because, especially, it's like a lot of my early material and my first special is all family. It's all family, and that is by design because I needed to. I mean, I plan on doing this, forever. I identify as a comedian, and so I needed to lay like groundwork. I needed to give the public something that is the initial start, the foundation. You understand this, then everything that I say after that, you know what I'm saying? You should be able to understand. I don't need you to even agree with it, but you should be able to get like, yeah, I know who this person is, right?
Mm-hmm.
And my family is a big part of who I am. It was a unique existence, not everybody has 12 siblings. Not everybody has my experience. I'm a middle kid. I do find human beings very funny. I think most people are hilarious when they're not trying to be. That's what separates, the comedian from everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And my siblings in particular, my parents and my siblings, I not only do I find them funny, but I love them in a way that I have never loved anyone else. And that doesn't mean I like all of them. So let's not mistake. Uh, because I mean, we all have our personalities and
Right.
we go through ebbs and flows,
A lot of people to like
Yeah,
constantly.
yeah, yeah. We hurt one another, we help one another. You know what I'm saying? So I don't want to
Mhm.
make it seem like, but I do love them very deeply. And I don't really, I'm not a mother, I'm not a wife, I don't know if I've experienced that level of love for people, so for somebody else yet. I've loved, I love my friends, of course. I've been in love with guys, but it's different with my
Mhm.
family. And I say that because it brings me great pleasure to talk about them. It it brings me, even if I'm talking about something that may be a little bit taboo or painful or something that I find incredibly funny about them. I'll never forget my younger brother, me and my youngest brother, we went to pick up another one of my younger brothers. He's right under me. I call him the trash brother because that was one of my biggest jokes for a while. I would say my brother says everything is trash. That shit is trash. That shit is trash. And remember earlier I said like I give license to people to talk.
Mhm.
I think if you scour the internet, you'll have nobody saying that shit is trash before my joke, before the first time I told that joke. Because
Mm.
it was a very specific phrase from New York City. It was a very specific thing that
Mhm.
that boys from New York City said, Um, more specifically, black boys from New York City said.
Mhm.
Um, and I remember when he got in the car, he was passionate. He was upset. Somebody on a bus, he had just taken a bus from New York City, like a Greyhound bus or something from New York City to Michigan. And we went to pick him up at the bus station. And he gets in the car and he like, you don't understand. This shit trash. This shit, they make you get on the, I mean, he is rant, full rant. It's not funny to him, but me and my younger brother, we are dying laughing, right? And because we're dying laughing, he doesn't believe that we believe him, right? So then he keeps saying facts. It's fact. It's fact. Like in my mind, I'm interpreting that like he's saying facts. Like just because he says it's a fact, that makes it true. I never forget. I never forget this. I could see it happening right now, right? And so I'll never forget. Now I'm back in LA. I'm about to go up at the Comedy Store, and I tell my friend who is another funny comedian. I asked him right before I get up. I said I'm gonna try this new bit. I was just with my brother. He kept saying this shit is trash. He was saying everything is trash. And you know the comic in me knows to heighten something. You know, I'm gonna start with whatever is true, but then it's like that's how in the joke I get to. He said that baby trash. You know what I'm saying? Like that baby trash is like a wild thing for anybody to say, right?
Yeah.
And so my friend who is from Texas, he's unfamiliar with that phrasing, right? So he don't really get it yet. So when I ask him, like, do you think that's funny? Do you think that I should? He said, I don't know. Just go up there and try it. I go up there and I become my brother and I kill. I destroy. Now that becomes my closing bit. I mean, people still today come to me like, you that shit trash. That like it,
Right.
But for me, my brother was in a state of stress. He was livid. You know, and me and my other brother, we watched him be livid and take us through, a Greyhound bus from New York City to Michigan. It's like 18 hours. So that means that he was telling us his experience, what pissed everything
in 18 hours
for 18 hours. And we got it in about 15 minutes. And it was so strong. It was so funny to me. I'm just like, if it's so funny to me, maybe I could do it on stage. I gotta tell you ever experienced something so good, so funny, so crazy, so you gotta tell somebody.
Yes.
That's how I felt.
Yes.
I said I gotta tell these people what my brother said.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's how, so I get such a kick out of them, really, that I kind of enjoy talking about them, even in their absurdities. But I will say I don't believe that I've crossed the line yet, because I think that they would tell me. And my plan is to not cross the line, because I am not trying to profit off of their dirty laundry.
Right.
That's not I'm trying to celebrate them. I'm trying to convey the ways in which we're similar and different in my response to them, but I think they like it. I think so far they like it because they say it. Like sometimes they even take responsibility for jokes, and I'm like, that ain't even about you. I got so many brothers, and they'll be like, "Oh, we thought that you did that joke about me," and I'm like, "No, actually, that was about, because it's like I'm not giving the truth. This ain't a documentary. I'm starting with something. I'm starting with a seed of truth, and then I'm creating a story around it." But my mom, she'll laugh, but then she'll get very serious, and she'll say, "Zainab, I support you, but there's things you don't say," and I think I understand the things that she's talking about. We'll find out one day. We'll find out one day if I don't, but
I
she
guess, right.
definitely.
It's like you'll find out one day. But obviously,
What'd you say? Did you freeze or did I freeze?
my world I
slowly crumbled around me countless times, and every time I rebuild with the pieces I've been given to birth something so transformational and beautiful that no one else knew
Zainab,
might exist before it was shown to them. These moments tend to coincide within my romantic path. The universe has been telling me to focus on the revolution and not romance. It has over time given me the tools, resilience, and light to turn my pain into power. And only now do I see that the key to this always resided in the love and knowing I had in myself, not from the external sources of family or men. The message I have been avoiding might be that my time in this world I had existed in was not to receive love, but to put it out there for others to see, feel, and heal through. Revolution before romance moves pain into power.
Zainab is a very popular Arabic name. At the airport, they might look at Zainab and be like, oh, should we stop her? Johnson? Oh, no, she's probably just going to Atlanta. My parents had 13 Muslim kids. We have a stripper. She strips fully dressed because you know we Muslim. I was on a date with a guy. He said, what, you think I'm a roofie you? I said, yeah, because that sounds like something a roofier would say.
But you are soon going to know me as Brown Girl Interrupting. And what I mean by that is that very soon, hopefully, you're going to be following my blog. I am a writer, and I started writing because I was married, I had children, and then my life changed when I separated, and I did a lot of learning and reflecting and growing in that process of change, because change always leads us to that. And I've decided to share that with the rest of the world, because sometimes hearing that someone else is going through the same thing as you, or understanding and putting words to the feelings and experiences we're having, helps us to heal from them, or grow from them, or learn from them. And so that's what my blog is. It's writing about life, healing, relationships, parenting, dating, marriage, pain, love, mistakes, growth, and coming out whole still in all of it as a human, flawed, but always open to new things. So that's my life, that's my journey. And it's written in this blog, but my hope is that you are going to go to www.browngirlinterrupting.com and join and subscribe to the blog and read all about.
Sorry about that. We had some tech difficulties.
No worries.
But thank you. No, I think what you shared about you and your siblings is so beautiful. Like, so as you saw in the commercial, I got 4 kids. And I think, but that sibling dynamic of joking with love, but also ribbing each other is like such a beautiful thing. And I love the way that you capture it in your stories that you tell in your humor, which is a really awesome thing. So I know we're coming to the close, and you've been traveling, so you've had a long, long night and day. But I just, for me, first, this has been such an honor having you on. Like, it is so amazing to be sitting with you and talking to you. I wish we were in person, but at least this is something for me. But I'm just wondering, like, for you, as you started off right in this world of comedy, but I'm sure you've met a ton of people. Have you met someone that you were kind of starstruck by, that you were like, you always had wanted to meet? Or do you have someone that you wish, like, that you like are kind of like, I hope I get to sit with this person one day?
Michelle Obama's my person.
All right. Put it out there. That's it. Okay.
She's my person. I remember I performed in front of Tracy Ellis Ross, and I really loved that because she's like my fashionista queen. I like admire so many people, and I'm like inspired by a lot of us. Like I would be I would be so grateful to be in a room with somebody like Kerry Washington, not somebody like with Kerry Washington,
Mm.
with Viola Davis. I love Wanda Sykes.
Mm.
I know Wanda personally, and to know Wanda is like a gift to me. Um, I don't think, and this probably goes back to me being a Muslim. There's no person that is God for me.
Mm.
No. So I am inspired by people. I'd be flattered, and I think that it might give me perspective. Like if one day I'm in the room happily uh, discussing ideas with Michelle Obama, Kerry Washington, et cetera, then I would feel like I've done really great work. You know what I'm saying? I feel like I would
Mhm.
have done good enough work to share those spaces with people who I also believe do really good, important work. But I'm not going to be stuck. I don't think. I don't think I'm going to meet somebody and be like shook because because they're not God.
That's a good thing. I mean, that's, and I love that. And I love that, I see it in the chat too. Everybody's real excited. That there's something that can happen from that meeting, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I would say, for me, this moment has been, I've been working on the show for 3 years. And there's a lot of amazing guests. I hope you go back and watch some of my episodes. I've had some amazing, amazing people, a lot of them in this chat right now, that have blessed this stage. But I will say that, there's you're not God, but there's some impact that you make on a larger scale that for me is really powerful to have you on my stage here with me. And I appreciate that a lot. And I think that, again, like what you do with comedy is transformational for a lot of people, and is changing and interrupting a lot of narratives that many people have no idea about, or have so much idea they experience it, and this gives them the permission.
Mhm.
Right. So, and I know our chat is blowing up. Daryl Howard says, I appreciate the time you shared tonight, Zainab. Very gracious and a great example for Black Muslim girls. You are that very representation that you desire to have. Keep up the great work. Yes, definitely, very much so. That's my colleague, Doc. Steph got jokes. Salute to the iRant Network. Came in heavy here in support. So many people. I know there were so many more people in the chat. I want to just make sure we give some shout outs to everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Salute to Living Niche Live. Salute to the chat. Ja, very nice. And Nico Reed says, one of my BFFs did the Clark Kent when we were kids, and her dad cut all her hair off. He was probably president of the Haram police.
I saw
I
that
remember
chat.
that.
I saw that chat actually, and it made me think of something. The pressure of like hair for women, and I think that crosses cultures, as much as it seems very much like a thing that's so heavy in like the Black community. I think it's a thing that we're like, you've made us feel so bad about our type of hair. And so now we have to like, but I think just for women in our hair, it is, obviously it's um source of patriarchy, right?
Mhm.
Globally. And so I remember like the first time we maybe had like a dress up day when I was in middle school. And I'll never forget, I was able to take off my hijab for like one day. And my sister, like, blew out my hair, and I had so much hair. And everybody, it's like instantly I became pretty to people, but like my face didn't change, you know?
Mm.
And people were
Mm.
like, oh my God, I didn't know that you had so much. Like, I think that when I was a kid, they thought that I was covering my hair up in school because I didn't have hair. Which, I mean, I guess that makes, I mean, I guess, but, and if that were the case, that would be okay too. But I remember like that positive reinforcement only made me want to get out of that. You know, you want to be
Mhm.
complimented.
Right,
You fall to the
right.
pressures of that, you know, like there's only value in a woman if people find her attractive. Well, then you want to be found attractive.
Yeah, yeah.
You know? And so the moment people were like, oh, can I touch you? Oh my God. And you have so much, and I love your hair, and you're so pretty. Why do you cover it? It's like, I don't know I don't know. I
Yeah,
don't
no,
know what my Abu is talking about, but I'm gonna have to get up out of this, you know?
but that pressure is so big. Oh, so I think for me it was everybody thought I got a bad haircut because I went
Mm.
short in middle school, which is not a great plan. I also did it like right at the time of Desert Storm. My timing was horrible in every way possible, right? So like, but but I think that you said something on your special, which I really appreciated because I look at it now and I see how women do the hijab and how beautiful and stunning they look, and I'm like, that's
Mhm.
not what we saw when we were growing up, though. Those
Right.
are not the hijabis that we were showing. We were showing like cover it all up, tight things. Like there was no creativity. There was no. I mean, I see it like it as models now. It's beautiful, and
It
I've
is
got
beautiful. They have
amazing.
flawless makeup on.
Right.
It's like, yeah, you don't need to show no hair when your face is beat to the gods. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. No, there's no need, right? Like the beauty is
it's
truly just
beautiful.
that, right?
It
It's
is,
who
yeah.
you are. And I think that there are a lot of girls who back in our days, and I think my days a little bit further than your days, but
Whatever.
but 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 back then, right? Like it wasn't a thing. So I think again, like those are the things that interrupt this stuff for other girls going up and being able to appreciate and love who they are and showing up the way that they are in whatever covering, whatever skin, whatever anything is right for you. And
Mhm,
that is hugely powerful.
mhm.
So, before we finish up, any other projects we know, please make sure you go and check out Hijabs Off. As you can see, it's hilarious and amazing. So, if you haven't done it yet, go check it out. I will tell you, I tried to get a copy of the Rolling Stone. I was driving around like to 3 different stores yesterday trying to get a copy. I don't know if you know, but Rolling Stone magazine no longer gets sold anywhere. I could
Oh,
not find one. You got to buy it online.
no, go to Barnes& and Noble. It gets sold, but you gotta go to, yeah,
I
go to
might
Barnes.
have to go to the right Barnes and Noble. Mine didn't
Oh.
have it.
Oh, yours didn't have it. Yeah, I don't know. You know, I live in Los Angeles and we have a lot of like kind of just like magazine walls, like
Mm.
magazine stands
Yeah,
rather,
yeah,
where you can go.
yeah.
And so it's there. And when I actually, I mean, of course I knew it was coming out. I knew that I'd done the shoot and I had received like uh, copies of the photos and things before, you know, I shared it, way before I shared it. But I was actually in where was I this weekend? Oh, I was in Tempe, Arizona, and I just walked to like a close by Barnes and Noble, and they had just put them out.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm gonna have to go back and look, but make sure if
Yeah.
you have Rolling Stone, go and check it out at your Barnes and Noble and get a copy of it because, I mean, like that's an arrival. You're in
And it was
Rolling
so
Stone.
nice.
Like
That was
that's pretty
nice.
freaking awesome. And to
Yeah.
be like, up and coming, like comedy is huge. Like I think that that's it's just amazing. So I wish you all the most amazing things as you continue to grow in all the ways. But what else do we have to look forward to? Where do we go and see you if anybody's watching in different cities?
Well, this weekend I will be in Tacoma, Washington. Thank you so much for putting up my dates. I'll be in Tacoma, Washington at Super Funny Comedy Club. I'll be there all weekend from Friday to Sunday. So if you're in Tacoma, Seattle, any surrounding areas, please come see me. Then I'll be in like if you want to, if you want to see my show schedule, just go to my website, which is my name, Zainab Johnson. And yeah, like I'm working on some stuff. If you haven't watched Upload, which is also on Prime, I'd love for you to check out Upload. I play, that's a half-hour comedy, and we have 3 seasons. And I have a lot of fun filming that show, and I like that I get to represent Black girls in this nearby future universe. And Yeah, and I would say just like follow me on social media and maybe and subscribe, sign up for my email list, and that way you can just you'll be updated with like everything that I'm doing.
I love it. And all those links are right below in the YouTube. So make sure that you go click on it, or the website with all the information of her dates, as well as social media handles are all there as well. So make sure you go follow Zainab Johnson. Go check out all of her shows, Upload and Hijabs Off. And please make sure you follow me. I am Brown Girl Interrupting. Hit the bell, click the little like button, and subscribe. Please go and check out my blog. I actually wrote a recent post called 3 Men and a Baby, about my 4 babies. Please go check it out. Make sure you subscribe, put your email in, and please, Zainab, go check out my writing. And this was amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you to all of our supporters who showed up in the chat and in watching, and to, of course, my amazing producer, Logic, behind the scenes, Mr. M, and the iRant family. This show is brought to you in association with the iRant Network, and we are on the Roku TV. So if you have a Roku TV, I don't know if you do.
I don't, but
anybody who has a Roku TV, please make sure you go and download the iRant channel, and you will find different stations, one of which is BGI TV, where you can watch this show as well as many other shows in our network. So please make sure that you join us every Sunday at 9 p.m. for new guests and great conversation. Thank you again, Zainab. This has been such an amazing gift. And I'm just like, I'm really appreciative of you taking the time.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. This has been a wonderful conversation. And for everybody that is tuning in and are fans of my work, I really appreciate you. And I thank you so much.
Thank you. And I can't wait till you're back in DC and I can come see you again live.
Yes, yes.
You got to go see a live show. Like, there is nothing like a live show with you. Your comedic genius is, I mean, you're brilliant. You're brilliantly like gifted in what you do because it's so natural. It really, 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 like, I know you laid out for us how much you prepare and the things you do, but the way when you get up there, it is like this beautiful dance of comedy and audience engagement, like all of it. I was so glad to be able to see you in person, and to have you here after that is just amazing for me. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'll see you in DC. I'll be there at the end of this year.
All right. I will be there to watch you for sure. And I'm sure a lot of our DC folks in the chat will be there as well. Thank you again. And thank you to everyone. Have a beautiful evening.